Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Today we discuss the lasting legacy of Lionel Johnson and Sanguinius' relationship as brothers, with L. Johnson's meeting of Dante. A spoiler warning to begin, as today we will be referencing events from the Warhammer 40k novel The Lion's Son of the Forest and the Horus Heresy novel Ruinstorm. As always, I really recommend you read the stories for yourself first, without spoilers, as that's the best way to enjoy the lore for yourself. But with that said, let's waste no time and just jump straight in. Okay, so throughout this week we have been analysing Lionel Johnson's relationship with his brother Sanguinius, and I recommend checking out the previous two uploads if you missed them, before continuing on with this, to get the full scope of what we've discussed. We started by taking a look and discussing their reunion during the Heresy, with the Angels' arrival to Ultramar. How there were immediate signs of the mutual respect between the two, Sanguinius appearing to place great faith in Lionel Johnson's opinion, and the bond between them enough for the Angel to embrace him on their meeting. A real standout for Lionel Johnson when it comes to his brothers. And we then broke down the difficulties that the Primarchs faced during the brief time of Imperium Secundus. How L. Johnson couldn't prevent himself from keeping secrets from his kin, leaving both Sanguinius and Guilliman in the dark as to his actions, and ultimately betraying his word to them both, by ordering an orbital bombardment on a world of Ultramar, even willingly disguising it to prevent his brothers from finding out. However, thanks to Conrad Kurz, they did indeed find out, leaving Guilliman beyond livid, furious, and Sanguinius clearly brutally disappointed, ultimately leaving the Angel no choice but to banish L. Johnson and his legion from Ultramar, from the Imperium Secundus. And so it's a real defining moment in the Primarch's history, a moment you'd expect them to irrevocably have parted ways. Yet thanks to a twist of fate, they didn't, as Sanguinius and Guilliman prepared to execute the captured Conrad. The recently exiled L. Johnson teleported back into the chamber, pleading with his brothers to stop, having realised that Kurz's visions are in fact truth, and that if sometime in the future the Emperor dispatches an assassin to slay Kurz, well then he cannot in fact be dead now. And thus, Terra, the throne world, still stood. The realisation stunned Sanguinius and Guilliman into halting, and the immediate sense of shame for founding Imperium Secundus descended upon them. And immediately the three Primarchs and their legions would set course into the Ruinstorm. It would be an arduous task, Chaos marshalling everything they could to prevent the three legions from reaching the throne world, blockading the length of the entire galaxy, the events ultimately leading the three Primarchs and their legions to Davin, the site of Horus's fall. And though the Primarchs had been reunited by L. Johnson's earlier revelation, had worked in concert with each other to break the Ruinstorm, or at least try, it was pretty clear a friction had developed between them, disagreeing over tactics and outlooks constantly. And between Guilliman and the Lion, that's nothing unusual, but it was a bit of a starker contrast in the Lion and Sanguinius' relationship, as the brothers argued about what to do with Davin. I wonder if Horus was as confident in his assumptions when he came here. The Lion glared. "I am not Horus." "No," Sanguinius said, keeping his voice level. "You are not. and you are not what he has become. But remember, brother, remember what he was. I remember. I remember how wise I thought our father was to make him War Master. I remember Horus's doubts, how he wondered if he was worthy of the task. How could this brother turn on us? Remember that none of us saw his treachery coming. Our father didn't see it coming. Remember all of this, and remember that here is where Horus fell. He paused. Now tell me you are certain there is nothing below. He's right, Guilliman said. I would like to know what happened to Horus. You think I don't? And if Sanguinius is correct, what then? Is our strategy to replicate Horus's error? Guilliman turned back to Sanguinius, an eyebrow raised. Where do you stand, Rabute? Sanguinius finally demanded. Why won't you tell us? I wanted to hear you both out. You have a lot of data, but it does not point in a clear direction. He gestured towards the exterior of the hull. We have just come through unambiguous evidence of the importance of Davin, but the necrosphere tells us nothing about how we should deal with the problem this world presents. He drummed his fingers on the table. On balance, he said, I agree with the lion. Our enemy isn't here. It is somewhere in the necrosphere. You saw it, Sanguinius. You've done battle with it already. More than you know, the angel thought. And then, a little later, the tension continues to be evident. No, they could not understand. There was someone who would though. I must speak with Conrad, Sanguinius said. The lion snorted with surprise. You think he will convince me? No, said Sanguinius. Nevertheless, I would speak with him. The lion shrugged. My decision is made. As Sanguinius reached the Strategium's door, the lion said, I will take action, without delay. You will be wrong to do so, Sanguinius said, and left. It's very evident here, the toll of the situation and journey was paying its price, taking its toll. But you have to think the events of Imperium Secundus II had left their mark. The lion's deceit, and his banishment by his brother. Here we see L. Johnson far more forceful with his opinion to Sanguinius than we ever saw him previously. The lion shrugged. My decision is made. I will take action without delay. And Sanguinius is equally as adamant, not staying to debate, but simply telling L. Johnson he's wrong and leaving. It's a far more tense interaction than we have ever seen them have before, prior to the banishment at least. And again, you just have to think it's because both brothers feel a little betrayed by the other. A dent in what appeared to be previously a completely solid and respectful friendship. And these disagreements allowed chaos a little sway and influence within the Primarchs here. The lion later coming perilously close to ordering a bombardment on Davin, despite Sanguinius descending upon the world. But thankfully L. Johnson realised the manipulation, threw it off at the final moment. But it was close. It was very close. And in doing so, despite it not necessarily being the root of their disagreement, the Primarchs, Guilliman included, appeared to find that common ground once again. To be able to speak more rationally and debate fully as they would previously, almost as if through their trials against the Ruinstorm, coming to the source of Horus's fall, their most beloved brother. They refound that unity, that shared purpose. And so by the time L. Johnson and Sanguinius had their last encounter, as Guilliman and the Lion agreed to be the distraction for the Blood Angels' push for the throne world. It was an extremely poignant moment. Sanguinius hissed with frustration. Then he closed his eyes for a moment. He calmed himself with the knowledge of what had to be. "The blockades do not stop me," he said. "I will reach Terra, because I must fight Horus. It is written. The fate of the Imperium will be decided then. Even the demon believed that." Guilliman and the Lion exchanged a look. Guilliman was no happier with the idea of predestination than he had been on Macragge. There was far less resistance in the Lion's expression. "Then we must learn how we achieve what we are fated to accomplish," said the Lion. Guilliman's brow furrowed in sudden pain. "You reach Terra," he said to Sanguinius. "That does not mean we do." "I don't know. I have never seen you or your legions in my visions." Guilliman nodded slowly, looking off into a future that already caused him agony. "There is a way," he said. He turned to the Lion. "But after all this, we will not reach Terra. We will not fight at our father's side. We hit the blockades ahead of the Blood Angels. We tie Horus's forces up instead of the other way around. We run interference for Sanguinius." The Lion thought for a moment, then said, "We can also draw some of their strength away." "How so?" "By applying the lesson I have learned at Epismos and Davin. Your fleet is the largest. I will attack their bastions, Rabute. I will destroy their homeworlds. That is the judgment that awaits them. Let it come now. Burn the corrupted planets. How many of our treacherous brothers will stay with the blockades if their worlds are directly threatened? Not all of them." "Very well," said Guilliman. "It makes sense for my legion to be the battering ram against the blockades." He turned to Sanguinius. "We will open the way for you," he sighed. "I never thought, if Terra still stood, that I would not be at father's side in the struggle." The pain in his eyes was hard to look at. The Lion was expressionless. Sanguinius wondered if he might not be finding some real satisfaction in his path, in being the hand of judgment. The three Primarchs stood in silence for a few moments. The paths were set. The moment of the Triumvirate's dissolution had truly arrived. They would fight for the common cause, but separately now. "When shall we three meet again?" the angel said. But he had told his brothers what awaited for him on the Vengeful Spirit, and they did not answer. El Johnson's face may be expressionless here, but you can feel the weight of the moment. The possibility that this is the very last time they could be speaking together, compounded by the possibility that they might not make it to the throne world at all, to stand beside their father. It's about as monumental and emotional a moment as El Johnson and Guilliman could have. But of course, this Lion El Johnson doesn't react, because it's not his way. He doesn't truly know how to. We would see in the aftermath of the heresy how much it would really hurt him. Him being consumed by his grief in the depths of the Imperial Palace, stabbing his brother Russ in the only way he could let out some of that pain. And it's not solely a pain at the Emperor's loss. It's a pain and grief at the loss of Sanguinius too, which is perfectly displayed in that meeting with Dante 10,000 years later, within the novel The Lion's Son of the Forest. There, as El Johnson awaited his first encounter with the real forces of this new Imperium, wondering how or what kind of reception he would receive, it was the arrival of Dante, wearing the mask of Sanguinius, that immediately caused a reaction within El Johnson. The Thunderhawk's forward ramps lower, and warriors armoured in blood red descend them in unison. The lion feels a pang of sorrow at seeing Sanguinius's sons. It is one thing to know that his loyal brothers are gone, but quite another to see this reminder of one of them. Quite unexpectedly, the lion feels a rush of guilt. Why should I have been the one to survive? Out of all of us, why should it have been me? However, another part of him is weighing and assessing what he is seeing. 60 Space Marines is a potent force, even more so if they are armed, supplied, and organised by squads in a manner his sons cannot currently be. What he could do if these 60 warriors were under his command. But of course, they are not. They are here to do him honour, plucked away from what must undoubtedly have been other vital engagements, simply because of his status. And if their current commander decides that he is a fraud, then the lion is under no illusion that these warriors are here to kill him. Then a new group of 10 Space Marines emerge from the central gunship, and between them comes a warrior in incredibly ornate golden plate, with a jump pack rising from his back, and his face masked. The lion's eyes fall upon that mask, and rage fills him. "Who are you?" he demands, striding forward. The assembled Blood Angels, who had their weapons held neutrally in parade form, bring them up to ready positions as one, although they do not yet aim them. The lion does not care. "Who are you?" he repeats, louder and more angry. "To wear my brother's face." They are Sanguinius's features, cast in gold, and drawn in an expression of rage and grief that reaches out and tears at the lion's heart all over again. "Stand down, brothers," the masked warrior orders, and the Blood Angels lower their weapons as one. Then the gold-armoured commander reaches up and removes his helm, revealing the face beneath. The lion can see the distant echo of the angel there, but greatly distilled by time. The warrior's long hair, which spills loose, is jet black, but threaded with silver, and his pale skin is drawn tight over high cheekbones, with faint blue veins visible beneath. For all the power and command this Space Marine radiates, the lion can tell that he is ancient. "I am Dante, commander of the Blood Angels," the golden armoured warrior says. "I greet you, Lion L. Johnson, Lord of the Dark Angels, and son of the Emperor." If you want concrete evidence of the legacy of Sanguinius and L. Johnson's brotherhood, then this is it. For all their disagreements, for all the ups and downs during the heresy, L. Johnson loved the angel. The pang of sorrow at seeing the Blood Angels, the regret that he had lived where others had not, and then that immediate, overwhelming rage at someone daring to wear Sanguinius's face, to masquerade as him. An outrage to L. Johnson, because to him, no one can live up to his brother. And listen to that description. They are Sanguinius's features, cast in gold, and drawn in an expression of rage and grief that reaches out and tears at the lion's heart all over again. Confirmation, if you ever needed it, that grief after the heresy wasn't just for his father, but for his beloved brother too. And indeed, there's a line previously where Old Johnson is told it's the Blood Angels approaching, where he reflects on them as sons of his most beloved brother. A joyous sight even. Perhaps the kind of thing L. Johnson wishes he could have said when it mattered. Yet his nature simply prevented him. A regret I'm sure we can all share. And of course it's yet another testament to the angel Sanguinius too, that he was able to appreciate his brothers as they were, that he was able to overcome all those various personality traits of them. He couldn't do it with all of them. Mortarion despised him, for example, but nobody's perfect, not even the angel. And I think we can rest assured he would have tried his best not to clash with him, to appreciate Mortarion for what he was. But overall, I think taking a look at the relationship and history of Sanguinius and El Johnson has not only once again revealed the greatness of the angel, his unique charisma and character, but so too the character journey and growth of Lion El Johnson. Is he fundamentally the same Primarch now he always was? Of course, we all have our own nature, so secrets will still be a part of him. That temper will still be there. But I think too, through the grief and loss of the heresy, as we have begun to see within the Son of the Forest, we have a returned El Johnson who regrets the mistakes of his past, who wants to trust, who would give everything he had to have his brothers back by his side. And you can't help but think Sanguinius would be proud of his brother for that. A Primarch who would embrace his kin rather than spurn them. Now, does that mean no difficulties with Rabute when they finally reunite? No, I'm sure plenty of clashes await. But perhaps the history, the memory and legacy with Sanguinius can keep these two brothers united. But as always everyone, what do you think? Despite the ups and downs of the Lion and the Angel's friendship, their brotherhood, is the Lion's reaction to Dante a clear sign of how highly he rated Sanguinius, how much he cared for his brother? Is the grief the Lion experiences within the aftermath of the heresy a sign of how much the loss of his father and brother meant? Is it that truly gives him reason to grow, to regret? And will this experience improve his relationship with Guilliman? Will it enable them to get past their many differences and arguments over their past, even looking past the dissolution of his legion? And given this clear fond relationship between El Johnson and Sanguinius, do you think we could see him encounter some vision of Sanguinius within the galaxy, given all the Angels' appearances within the Blood Angels novels? As always everyone, leave your thoughts in the comments below. Huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support truly means a lot to me, it really does. If you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too? But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.